Joe, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got it?
Got it.
Okay, pause there. Okay. Item 2 would,
You want me to do a roll call?
oh yeah, I forgot. Nanette's gonna do a roll call of the board members just for public information on who's here.
James Sewell,
Present.
Georgia Miller. Here. Joe Gaspery,
Here,
Casey Westring,
Here.
Charlie George,
here,
Karen Condit,
Here.
Mike Boardman,
here,
Casey Alameda.
Here.
That's it, right?
And Paul Clark is absent. Okay. Item 2, the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. As in last time, we'll do roll call votes. So those of us present will go first. I vote yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Cassie,
Aye.
Charlie,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Casey,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye. Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Okay, item 3, one of the main topics of 2 here. Discussion about the lease of the school-owned property next to the old Medicine Bow School. I'll turn it over to Dr. Copeland.
All right, well, as the main reason for the special meeting is to deal with what happens at the end of the current lease. So just a little background, just for the record. Medicine Bow or Medbow Lodging has had a 12-month lease that expires on May the 9th. We got information about a week, I guess, before the April board meeting that they were planning to terminate their lease. Whereas we tried to figure out what our options were that would not have to remove the 10 or so present RVs that were hooked up parked there. So as a result of all of that, I called right after that meeting to see called Darren Delamont to see if they would be interested in some level of a transition lease so that we could get those RVs through this particular season and get us into the fall when most of them remove their RVs anyway. He said that they would look at that they would probably be interested in that. And since he's gotten back and said that they would be interested in extending their lease at least 12 months, Tyler called me this morning and said that maybe they would be interested in a 12-month. It depended on what the board wished. Basically at the same terms and all as the present lease. In the meantime, we have had 4 individuals actually that called and expressed interest when word got out that there was question of what was going to happen after May the 9th to that property. 2 of which did not come through with any written proposal, but the other 2 did. And one of those proposals was from Mike and Rose Hojo, I think is how you say their last name. They proposed basically some of the same terms. They are willing to put down, I think, a $6,000 deposit was the last information that I got from them. And then to sign a 12-month lease and continue to maintain and or expand that property there. The other individual that that contacted me is Hayden Bricker. And he sent in a written proposal Friday, I believe, late is when I got it by email. He is willing to put down a deposit, I believe $1,500, and then to pretty much keep the same terms as the current lease, which is basically $1,000 a month, and then they maintain it and consider utilities. So that being said, I think Hayden is part of the Zoom meeting, and so is Darren and Tyler from Medbo Lodging. And they are here to answer questions, to make comments. And then the board needs to make a decision on where we go from here for that piece of property by a motion, a second, and basically to direct Bill McPherson to draw up release. Bill is also part of the meeting, so he's here to answer questions or to make comments as he hears discussion leading up to a motion and action taken by the board. So with that,
Just real quick, I see there's a chat that Tyler asked about a call-in number because he can hear us, but we cannot hear him. So,
I asked him if it was not in his invite.
okay.
Um,
Okay, I just want to make sure you saw that earlier.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Well, we're trying to get on that, Tyler. We don't specifically have a call-in number, but we do have cell phones. If we need to, we could give you a number. If we don't get to work, we will work it out. Okay.
so from there, I think there are comments from any board member that wants to make comments, any questions of the individuals that are here and or of Bill. And then we'll just kind of go from there as this discussion takes place.
Do you want?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah. Mr.
if I could, I don't want to interrupt anybody, but just a few points of things I'd like to point out for the board as part of the current lease. The current lease provides paragraph 5 that the tenant would expend $20,000 on improvements. They at least indicate, I think, in their cover letter that they've well exceeded that. I don't know that to be the case, but I point that out to the board. Paragraph 12 required them to erect a perimeter fence within 30 days for privacy along Oregon, and I think that's also shown on the attached map. I don't, from what I understand, that has not been done. I don't know if there's any other violations. Rent has been paid through May 8th, as I understand it. If we lease to somebody else, I think we need to, as part of this, determine when our lease with Medicine Bow Lodge ends. If it's going to end on May 8th and the next person is going to take over the next day, how exactly that's going to work. The timing of this is pretty rough. Paragraph 14 provides that we have $15,000 as a security deposit. The lease allows us to use that upon termination to apply to any accrued rent, damages, and to restore the premises and to remove any subtenants and any other costs allowed by the lease. So one option is not to do anything, and we could apply that to the cost of kicking the people out of there if that's what the board wanted to do. I would also note that I think section 30 provides that if the current tenant holds over, if they hold over past May 8th, in other words, they don't restore the premises and provide it to us by May 8th in this generally the same condition as it was when they started leasing it, absent the improvements, then their rent doubles. And so if nothing's done, rent just doubles as of May 9th per the terms of the lease. Not part of this board's concern really, but if somebody else does lease this, I think there's got to be quite a bit of communication between the current tenant and the new tenant, because you're going to have people, sounds like at least 10 people living there. They're going to have leases with the current tenant. Is the new tenant going to assume those? How's that going to work? Are there security deposits? Is there prorated rent? A lot of issues about that really would be between whoever our new tenant is and the current tenant. But I point that out as being some things that would have to be addressed ultimately, again, probably not our concern, at least initially. The only other thing I would say is whoever the board directs to lease the property to, last time we had a 2 or 3 person subcommittee, and that was beneficial for me to talk to somebody. I don't know a whole lot about this property out there, and it was good to have people on the ground who could tell me what was important to be in the lease and what wasn't important. Dr. Copeland's done a good job at trying to put this together, but I don't know that he's the guy, or maybe he is, to oversee the lease of property. I just don't know that he has a whole lot of a background or history of the property either. So those are just a few comments I have. I'm happy to answer any questions on anything else, but thank you.
Mr. McPherson, just a quick note. I think some of the issues you talked about, in my mind, a bigger picture thing is that the school board and Dr. Copeland, we're not set up long-term to be, it's not our mission to be landlords. So just something to keep in mind. What we do now, this is a hassle for us, and it's not something we're particularly good at or in the business of. So
Chairman Sewell, again, I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but I would wholeheartedly agree. I mean, you guys meet once a month, you educate kids, and it's just difficult, if not impossible, to do these type of business transactions with a board that meets once a month. And on top of that, this is just, as you say, not the business you guys are into, but I'll leave it alone at that.
okay, thank you. Do you want to have the people that are on talk for a minute or
Sure.
two? The Med Bow Lodging people first. We'll give Darren and Tyler each a couple minutes to talk if they choose to, and then Hayden, and then we can open. And if board members have comments, we can hold those till the end of each person speaks. See how this goes.
Okay.
Darren or Tyler, one of you.
This is Tyler. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. For the purpose of this meeting, I would like to speak to the board about our lease and some feedback that we have gotten back over the past week or so, actually the last several weeks, was the tardy reply that we gave to the board regarding our intent to renew the lease. And initially, when Jim Copeland had contacted us and asked us for our intention, we were pretty deep in figuring out where we were with COVID and what was going to happen to our other businesses and also with Med Bow Lodging. As you guys can probably figure out, based on your own lives, this turned a lot of us upside down, and we weren't really sure how to respond to the epidemic or what was going to happen. So Darren and I initially said, hey, let's let this thing go and give someone else an opportunity to take it over, because we were pretty deep in our own separate business challenges.
Tyler,
Yeah.
can you hear? Can you turn the volume down on your computer? Will that help? I think
We're getting reverb.
our technical person thinks that would help with some echoing on our end.
Is that better?
Yes. Thank you.
I'm not sure how much of that you got. Jim Copeland had contacted both of us a few weeks ago and asked us our intention. And at that time, we were knee deep in COVID-related issues, as I'm certain members of the board and members of residents of Wyoming and Carter County were and are. We were struggling to find our feet. We were struggling a lot. So initially, our intention was not to renew our lease, and then thankfully, as time went on, we got a little bit
like everyone else, I think we figured out a way to navigate through the situation, how long the shutdowns were going to last here in Colorado, and I know you guys have had some up there as well. It's been an ordeal, to say the least, for everyone. However, after an opportunity to speak to Darren and us to speak with our on-site manager, we said, hey, this is going to be a learning environment for everyone, obviously, but we have an opportunity to salvage this. At the time, Darren and I initially said we did not wish to extend. If there was some conversation, and it was probably just a rumor that potentially a COVID-related illness or illnesses could affect the construction schedule with the wind project in and around Medicine Bow. So there were just a bunch of things up in the air at the time, and I'll own it. It was a slap judgment on my part to just say, hey, you know what, time out. We need to regroup here and terminate. We told the two properties in Medicine Bow, we elected to terminate the first lease and let that revert back to the owner. And as Mr. McPherson stated, we do have we have some funds tied up in both of those projects, and we elected to let the other project go and proceed if possible. We'd like to continue this lease with the school board and continue under the previous term of the lease. Where we have tenants in-house, we would prefer, obviously, not to have to remove those tenants from the property. And again, that's not something we would suggest. But again, if another leaseholder in place as of May 6th or the 8th, how do we go about that? How do we navigate that? So those people have come to Medicine Bow to work. And obviously they're there on behalf of the wind project, and I think that's something that we could easily navigate through with the school board. However, we are very interested in continuing the lease. We have everything in place. We have not at all yet begin to turn a profit. Obviously, we've got to spin up to a plan, but we're ready to continue with it. Darren, if you have any other comments, please jump in.
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. Thanks, everybody. My camera's kind of messed up, so you're seeing me through a mirror, but I apologize for that. My technical support couldn't get it on the front camera. But anyway, yeah, as Tyler said, we've got all that. And I know Mr. McPherson had talked a little bit about what we have invested in the property, and I don't have the actual numbers in front of us, but we're into it for $15,000 just for the electrical portion, not to include water and sewer. So I think we're into it for about $30,000, which is fine. That was our end, and we had agreed to that. Like Tyler touched on, this COVID really had us reeling, and we were trying to figure out what to do. And with how it was hitting our other businesses, we were going into dig-in mode to try to survive through this. As things have changed, we're getting quite a bit of activity. I'm getting about 5 calls a day on my cell phone for people that want additional RV spaces. So we would really like to continue. And as you guys mentioned earlier, you're not set up for long-term lease. We would be interested in purchasing the property if you guys were open to that, and we'd be willing to make that a part of this discussion or this contract. But we already have a contract in place. We've got the deposit in place. It'd be pretty seamless for us. I'd like to apologize for us sending that letter at the beginning. If we would have waited another week, it would have been a completely different letter. But this COVID thing is a moving target, and I don't think anybody's sure where we're going to end up when this is all said and done. But just to add a little bit more context to this, I've been a firefighter for 24 years and a deputy sheriff for 2.5 in Denver before that. In conjunction with all of this, I was going through quite a bit of things through the department, and being on all these crazy calls and having this ground into my memory for the last 26 plus years has brought me to a point where I went ahead and retired from the fire department. So I have more time to dedicate to this project, and it would actually be a good thing for me to kind of go through and to help with. And I'll just be honest with you, I got diagnosed with PTSD because of all the years of death and destruction that I've been seeing. So that that complicated our decision as well. Again, just trying to give you more context, but this is what's going on our end. But the bottom line is you guys need the rent paid and needed the property in good shape. We've had a contractor in place to try to build that fence. As Mr. McPherson pointed out, it hasn't been put up, but the materials have been on site for 10 months or so. We just haven't been able to coordinate with the local contractor and get it up. So all that being said, we would like to continue. We'd like to keep working with you guys. We're happy with you. We hope that you're happy with us. And we would like to open the discussions of purchasing the property so you don't have to have the headache of managing as landlords and dealing with tenants. And maybe we just do a purchase at the end. We'd agree upon a price and sell it, and then you guys don't have to deal with it anymore. That's about it for me. Do you guys have any questions for us or thoughts?
No, let's hold them till the end. Let's give Hayden a chance to talk, and then the board members can comment, and then if you want to ask individual questions. Does that seem reasonable? Yeah.
And
Okay. Hayden, why don't you, if you're on, if you can work your computer, go ahead, take a couple minutes, introduce yourself.
Well, thank you. I would like to thank the board for allowing me this opportunity to join you. My intentions were to bid on the property solely because of I've spoken to a couple of the people renting over there, and they were asking, if there was going to be any renovations to the property anytime soon, and it was my intention to maybe lease the land and maybe start doing improvements immediately. Maybe start putting road brace down, cleaning up some of the mud, and maybe mowing down some of the brush to maybe make it look a little nicer. And I know my bid is maybe a little bit low, but as I'm sure you guys understand that with the economy the way it is, I kind of have a little bit of concern putting out an enormous amount of money. And my intentions are to also buy the property at some point, probably after a 1-year lease. But I understand if the opportunity shows itself for someone to purchase the property immediately, I can understand that wholeheartedly. As far as anything else goes, if the board has any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Anything else before the board?
just the other proposal, the HOJOs, they're not part of the meeting, but they did send in their general proposal, less than the later edition that they're willing to put on the deposit.
Okay. That's good. I guess I'll open it up to board member comment. You can go, just speak up, and if two of you go at the same time, we'll try to manage that. Mike's rubbing his face.
Do you want me to go first then? I do have a couple comments. The easiest thing for us, Mr. Chairman, would be to go with Medbo logging, but given that, they left us short with completing that lease agreement, and that gives me some issues related to trustworthiness, because had they have just completely have left us hanging, they would have not have fulfilled their obligations to put up the fence, fix the road up according to Medbo specs. I don't know exactly what that means, but essentially the road's a mucky mess even as we speak now. I know them guys are having troubles getting in and out, and so they're not having a lot of fun in that. And so I'm kind of wondering, moving forward, if we went with Medbo Lodging, if they would put the pedal to the metal to get that stuff done ASAP, because there are some contractors around here that'd probably be hungry to get the work done. So with that being said, that's the easiest for us, given the circumstance. I would recommend that we do an extended lease till 12/31/2020. That way, if we're going to keep doing this from a standpoint of managing a year-to-year lease, that it'd be easier to start from the first of the year every year, given the fact that these guys are usually out of here by the end of December. And if we're ever left in a situation where somebody backs out of a lease in the middle of May, we're not left with 15 people going, what are we going to do with them? And that's not a good spot for us to be in. And as far as purchasing, I'm not in favor of putting that into any agreement yet. Maybe in December we can look at that moving forward, but I think that's more involved than just putting that in the agreement right now. So leasing has been a challenge for us, no doubt. If we were to go with Hayden, I would ask Mr. Hayden why the need to do brush management, because that's really the only thing holding that soil intact right now. Part of it's been cleared out, and since it's been cleared out, it's just turned to dirt and mud. So I'm not a real big favor of manipulating any of the brush there, as most of it's already out anyways for these guys. And I know Hojios, they were interested. It's unfortunate they couldn't be here, but you know, I think I kind of group all these newer guys into, you know, it's either we move forward Medbo Lodging or we look at one of these other people to lease it. So I would really like to hear Medbo Lodging's plan on, you know, fulfilling their obligations in that lease. If we were to extend them, if, you know, how quick they'd get on top of that.
Tyler, you want to talk to that or you want me to? Well, we'd be glad to start working on that. If you could get us a list of local contractors, because I'll tell you the challenge for us is we just haven't been able to get it all done. But we could get that fence up and we could start working on road base. But I don't know what our time frame would be on that. I mean, I've got time now. I'm gonna go turkey hunting and morel mushroom hunting with my son in Kansas the rest of this week. But after that, I could go up there and start working on it. If that would be soon enough. It's just going to be the challenge of getting contractors out there and getting it done. We don't have heavy equipment up there. Tyler has quite a bit of heavy equipment, but it's busy in northern Colorado. So for us getting that up there, it'd be a little bit of a challenge. But if we can get local people and get competitive pricing, for sure we could start working on that. Because the situation we're in now is the money is flowing and the business is functional, where the past year we've just been getting kicked in the gut and we've been putting money out there and haven't been getting anything back. And it's been a struggle to put more money in what appeared to be a sinking hole, but it's not a sinking hole anymore. And it makes us much more apt to start putting money back into it and get things rolling. We've got the funds available on a monthly basis to do that.
I'd like to draw something in here too. The fence, I think, without that's not finished. Fence, I think, is some sort of the two tasks to complete. That's better. And for us to fulfill our terms of the previous lease and this lease moving forward. Mike, I want to also tag on to something that you said. I think that's a great move with the termination of the lease in the off months, because we're, as a group, the school board and Medbo or any leaseholder, we're dealing with some challenges here, and it's no one's fault. We're doing a lease while we have tenants and while the season's starting, and there's just a lot of question marks right now, but that we would be in favor of a lease term to expire sometime in the quote unquote off season. That would be, I think that would help everyone. And again, I want to remind the board, Mr. McPherson talked about the deposit. this is the purpose of the deposit. If we or anyone else exits the property and breaks terms of the agreement, you have $15,000 of our money to put the property back in the way we found it. And obviously, I think the property is better than we found it, but again, that deposit is in place. So the school board is not left out in the cold on any further agreements that we don't hold up. So I hope that helps.
Hey, Hayden, did you have a question?
No, but I would like to make a comment. It's not per se taking out all the brush and just leaving it out. I would be more in favor of bringing in road base to help those gentlemen that are currently renting the property, help them get kind of up out of the mud, get them on some suitable gravel. That way they're not trying to fight that, as was pointed out earlier. My whole point is to try to get the property up to full operating status as using all the available lots available for renting. I wouldn't be in favor of at all removing brush without having anything to go back in to control all the mud that's there, or putting trailers back in as they are right now. So.
Okay, thank you for responding. Yeah, when Mike asked about the brush. Any other board members have any comments, questions, anything besides Mike here?
Mr. Chair, just to let everybody know, I'm remaining neutral in all of this. I know and have a relationship with the existing leaser, and I also know know Hayden. So I'm going to stay neutral on all this, just so you know.
Okay, and we won't forget also the Hojos, or, we don't want to eliminate them or exclude them just because they weren't here. I think they've been forthcoming with their information and stuff to Dr. Copeland, so they just weren't available tonight.
I had a question for Bill. Bill, I had just a question for you. So, knowing the details of all of this, and knowing, that our options there are 3 different options. However, you've highlighted some complications in going really with, I guess, any of them. But is your from what I heard your comments, do you feel that from a legal standpoint and as a way to move forward, are you suggesting that it's there are pluses to continuing the lease because it would just change dates? Or I guess I'm just trying to interpret what I'm hearing you say.
Sure. I'll write up whatever the board tells me to do at the end of the day. The board decision, whatever the board prefers, certainly I will do. I think Mike said it well, and I don't need to. From a legal standpoint, it's certainly easier to continue with the current lessee than changing course, just because I've got a lease agreement with them, and I can just mark it as a supplement and add another year to it, or 8 months, or whatever you tell me, and leave the terms in place, and you don't have to worry about prorating rent between the tenants, assigning security deposits, et cetera. And again, that's not necessarily this board's problem at this point, but I guess potentially could be at some point in the future. Also, if you keep the current tenant, we have $15,000 security deposit. If you change, I'm going to need some guidance as to what we're doing with that security deposit. Are we going to apply it to certain projects? Are we going to release it all? What are we going to do with that? So I guess legally we can do it however the board wants to do is the easy answer. I'll just leave it at that.
I guess I'll make a couple comments. Knowing a little bit about the landlord business and leasing. One, a $15,000 deposit is a lot better than a $1,500 deposit, or even a $6,000 deposit. The other thing is, it's easy to look over the fence and think that somebody might do a better job. It's easy to say that until you're actually having to line up the gravel and actually bringing the road bends and actually get the fence in. So, you know, while we know the faults of Medbo Lodging, and they have admitted to them. I think the road base thing, that may not have been real clear in the contract. The fence was very clear. And it rained an inch this weekend, so it's a muddy mess, I'm sure. But sometimes when you switch tenants, you might have surprises, right? So there are some things that we may be frustrated with Medbo Lodging, and there may be things that we become frustrated with the other ones. So I'm not saying that to say I'm in favor of one or the other. It's just something to keep in mind that, you know, there may be some unpleasant surprises as well with another tenant. So I don't think it's fair to totally assume that would not be the case.
Sally, I have just a quick question for Sally, just to confirm what I think I know. But we mentioned the $15,000 deposit. Has Medbo Lodging paid their rent through the lease?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, I just thought I would confirm that.
Yes. I'll check the receipts real quick, but I'm sure they have.
Mr. Chairman, my thought on it is, obviously, we received a letter from Medbo Lodging stating that they did not plan to renew the lease. But then we reached out to them to say, would you be interested maybe in a 6-month lease? Because we didn't really know what to do about it. And so my thoughts are, if we were the ones that reached out to do that, then I think that's maybe the direction that we should go. That's my opinion.
Thanks, Georgia. And I did forget to mention that I guess I'm predisposed to have a fair bit of forgiveness about people making business decisions in the COVID environment. And then, you know, there's a lot of panic that went on and people want to stop the bleeding, and it's just not them. I mean, that, you know, when you're seeing revenues plummet and expenses keep on going. And so I would encourage us to have a bit of forgiveness with that kind of thing.
And they have invested a lot into the property, you know, I mean.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add it that, you know, we spent quite a bit of time with Darren when we first went about all this. And I really did like Darren and what he brought to the table. I understand that he's been through some challenges, as we all have. And I'm with you. I'm a man of second chances, and I'm a man of forgiveness. And, you know, they're kind of still willing to stand behind their agreement. I'd like to see them have another chance at giving it a round, because it is tough. And we knew that the first year would be pretty rough for them. So I'm kind of with you on that. So, and I would recommend that we give them another shot.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. And I think your comment was a good one earlier. We didn't really address it, but to not necessarily attach. I think, you know, the sale of that property, it probably makes sense when we look at the strategic point of the school district, but to attach it to some lease, I would also be very hesitant to do a lease purchase contract. Because one, without some kind of open forum, if we're going to sell property like that, there's been some public concerns. I feel like there ought to be some kind of a meeting in Medicine Bow, or more chance for feedback from the citizens of Medicine Bow before we dispose of the property there. And whether you do a lease purchase, personally, should we do sealed bids? Should we do just a flat? If you're doing the job, you're probably going to keep doing. There's lots of options with how to sell property if we choose to sell property, which is a different decision. So I would tend to agree with what you said, Mike, I would struggle to include that in a lease at this point because it's a separate issue.
However, on that end, I would like to, if for some reason this doesn't work, I'd like to see Hayden and Hojo's come back in December and, be willing to take the ropes because there's still, from what I understand, 2 or 3 more years that these guys are going to be coming. So, I mean, the opportunity still be there for those coming if they want to come back. If for some reason Medbo Lodging wasn't able to fulfill their obligations further. The other thing too is maybe we ought to get more specific with what we want to see in a road and fence because that wasn't real specific in the lease agreement. So maybe get a little more specific so Medbo Lodging knows exactly what we expect.
Yeah, I think the fence was more specific than any kind of road. The road, it was just a $20,000 in improvements. It didn't say whatever, what that was to, other than the fence. Okay.
Well, it said something about Medbo meeting Medbo, Town of Medicine Bow specifications, and I don't even know what that is. So.
Anybody willing to make a motion? I guess at this point, there's no reason to assume that Medbo Lodging is going to get a lease if we don't have a motion and discussion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we offer a lease to Medicine Bow Lodging. And should I include
the date
from May 9th through December 31st of 2020?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to extend Medicine Bow Lodging's lease from May 9th to December 31st of this year. Is there any further discussion from the board? I think, yeah, it's been moved and seconded, so, yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I assume it would be on the same terms, conditions as the current lease, with some additional input on the fence and the access road.
so probably a better way to term that would be, we would move to have Dr. Copeland go forward to work on that lease with you, right? So that if there are some clarifications to be made, that we would allow him and you to work on those.
Excellent. Okay. And my belief is the city of Medicine Bow has in their ordinances a specific requirement for the type of roadway for residential. Instead of just making that reference to here, we can pull that and 30-foot wide road with whatever amount of road base and crushed gravel, whatever that may be, and just put it in the lease.
Yeah, I think so. And then, you know what, if Medbo Lodging gets a chance to review that and doesn't like those terms, then we can be where we're at, but I think that's a good idea.
All right, thank you.
They don't have to sign it, even if we put it together.
If I could, Tyler, do you guys still have the same attorney, or are you guys going to move forward without an attorney this time? Because I'll need to know where to send this.
Why don't you forward it to the existing attorney? I've spoken to him over the past couple of days. That'll be fine.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to allow Dr. Copeland to work with Bill McPherson to extend the current lease through the end of the school year, while clarifying the fence and the road through the end of this calendar year. Sorry, I said school year, I think, but calendar year. All those in favor, I will vote yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Cassie,
Aye.
Casey,
Aye.
Charlie,
Abstain.
Karen,
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Did we get Casey? Oh, yeah. Okay, I just missed her. Okay, So motion passes. Hayden, I just want to thank you for your interest and, this is something that may come up again next year, but as I hope you can see, the school board is not set up to make quick decisions or changes. That's just not, not what we're best at. So I think that was reasonable, obviously. So, but I appreciate your interest and the Hojo's interest and just keep in touch in the future. Okay, moving on to item number 4. The reason we actually are here as a school district board, for the most part, adaptive learning plan. Dr. Copeland.
All right. Back when we had school closures, we were all school districts, including Carbon 2, were required to come up with an adaptive learning plan that would be approved by the Wyoming Department of Education. So we came up with our plan, which we're currently implementing, and it was approved by WDE. So that is the function, and it was actually approved through the remainder of the academic year. So it was approved through the end of our year, which I think is May 29th officially. Since that time, the governor has relaxed some things. However, as it pertains to schools, they have given us the flexibility to propose some face-to-face instruction in very limited situations and only if approved by the county health department, which in our case, the Carbon County Health Department. So Mike Hamill, who's the superintendent of Carbon 1, and myself have met twice now in a Zoom session with county health department officials, including Dr. Couch, who is our county health officer. They have made it clear the things that would go into any kind of addendum to our adaptive learning plan. So we are at present developing a written addendum to our plan. The required items that will be included or that have to be included in the plan, according to our county health department, is that we have to have a screening situation by our nurses or somebody in our district, which would be our nursing or health department, to screen any pre or underlying known health conditions of any students that are proposed to come into the building, and that he would not approve anyone coming into face-to-face instruction situations, students we're talking, and our staff, I suppose, but priority students that have any respiratory conditions, including asthma conditions, any heart conditions, and there's a whole list. I won't name all of them. So that has to be included in a plan. Anybody then coming into the building for face-to-face instruction has to be temperature screened and has to sign an attestation statement that basically says that they have not had any symptoms of COVID-19 for the previous 14 days, nor have they been in any contact with known COVID diagnosed individuals in the last 14 days. So that's just a statement that people need to sign. Students and instructors that are involved in any of this direct instruction, which could be teachers, could be counselors, could be principals, would all wear face masks. The face mask can be cloth, since they're basically what is available right now. We have been able to order and purchase some face masks that would allow us to move forward. And distancing has to be observed, which right now currently 6 feet, and the group limitations have to be observed, which would mean 10 or less. So we have been working on a plan that I think we can finalize tomorrow to submit to the county health department for their approval, and then to submit that to WDE, where for the last 3 weeks of our instruction, so we're targeting a week from today, our targeted groups would be any seniors that are at risk of not graduating due to credit issues that might benefit from some face-to-face help or some extra instruction. Our second priority group would be any 9th through 12th graders that are in danger of losing or not earning a credit this year, since secondary are all credit. And then third, we're just giving ourselves a little bit of flexibility for other prioritized students, individuals, and or small groups that the admin team feels could benefit or would really need something that the video or distance learning is just simply not providing those students. To be honest, it would be very small, very few individuals in that category. There are, other situations for younger elementary students that would be hard, even in the situations that I just described, the requirements. So basically, what I'm recommending is that the board that you basically just approve continuing our adapted learning plan and assess small groups or individual instruction when county health officer agrees that procedures are in place for the safety and well-being of our community. I'll be glad to answer any questions, but as you can see, we're basically we have 3 weeks. With the current grouping and all, it's not feasible, and I don't know of any school district that are bringing students back in any normal situations because of the restrictions. So it is also possible that the governor could change some of those restrictions, say May the 14th or 15th, we've got the next indication that there may be more flexibility after that. But again, we're mainly concerned with our seniors, any seniors that are at risk of not graduating, and any high school students that are at risk of not earning their credit for the year. Those are our 2 biggest priority groups. The third group is just kind of a catch in case we see other individuals in other groups that we might deem, the admin team deem necessary to bring in. So that's what I'm asking the board to recommend to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move to allow Dr. Copeland and the admin team to move forward with the adapted learning plan and the addendum for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year, and assess all this through the county health officer.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or questions before we vote on that?
And just one addition to that, for summer school and for the fall, at least under present instruction from WDE, we are to develop a reopening general plan. We have not gotten the template of what's required in that yet, and I really think after asking questions of the county health department and also WDE, nobody really knows what the situation is going to be later in the summer or for the fall, and what kinds of restrictions, if any, might still be in place as far as grouping and numbers. So we haven't started in earnest on that until we know a little more closer to time. Normally our summer school does not take place until toward the end of July, the last couple of weeks of July. So it gives us a little bit of time to get that more extensive plan in place. So that's just an information. And one other thing I might as well add, the county health department also wanted to see written graduation plans of all of the high schools in the county. So that's 3 for us. So basically the principals by Friday, I've already gotten a couple of summaries already, but they've been meeting with either their committees and or their seniors. And I've asked for written plans that I can submit to the county health department by Friday. Again, some of those restrictions could be lessened, so those could be changed a little bit. But we just felt like we needed to go ahead and get those in and approved by the county health department as we know it right now. So that's just another piece of information. And as soon as the health department approves those, we will, or gives their stamp of blessing on those, we will make those completely public. I think the senior classes are pretty aware of their plans.
Okay, no comments. We'll go ahead and do another roll call vote. I will vote yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Casey,
Aye.
Cassie,
Aye.
Charlie,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Copeland. Appreciate your efforts, administration's efforts on that. It's a lot of work. Okay, that is it. We will adjourn this special meeting. We'll see you guys later. And we have a salary and benefits committee after this, so, but special meeting is adjourned. Take a 2-minute break.
Thank you, Dr. Copeland, Jim, and everybody.
You bet.
Thanks, guys.
Good night. See ya.
Thank you, Dr. Copeland, Jim, and everybody. I think that's, you get special recognition that way.
Tyler did say that they will get a check in the mail tomorrow, assuming that the lease will continue, and thank you.
Yeah, for their
For the May
rent.
1st.
For the-
Yeah, salary.
For May, and I was thinking May 1st. I just assumed May 1st instead of May 9th. So I was like, well, we're already past it.
I'm glad somebody suggested that it's the December 31st.
Right, Mike is a lot better.
That's much better. Let's see, Karen, Bessie, Joe, I'm just trying to remember who's on the committee. And we're not live streaming the committee.
We're not live streaming, we stopped that.
It's not a public.
We stopped that as soon as he adjourned it.
Okay, good. Okay, now we got that. You sent an email about that. Okay. We can take.
Jason, all that's gonna happen now is a committee meeting.
See you, James.
Yeah.
All right, see you later.
Yep.
See you,
Bye.
Georgia. Thank you.
See you, Joe.
Sorry about the whole situation. I'm not prepared. See you guys.
I was wondering what the graduation was gonna be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you need anything else from me?
I
Or,
don't think so.
okay, or during the meeting? Again, I do apologize, I didn't have a call-in number set up on this one because it worked so well for the board meeting.
I don't know why we couldn't hear.
I think didn't have the right microphone on his
On his
computer.
Committee meetings, if
It was within his computer, it wasn't anything of ours.
Okay.
But there was a number on there, he should have been able to call anyway.
Did you say something, Charlie?
yeah, which committee is this?
Salary and benefits.
I guess I wasn't on that one then.
I don't think you're on that one.
All right, I'm leaving.
Thanks, Charlie.
See ya.
Bye, Charlie. You guys have a nice evening.
See you, Dan.
Did everybody get my email about setting up the committee with the reps?
Yeah.
Are those dates okay? I mean,
What did you say, the 12th to the 14th?
Yep.
At what time? Whatever.
4 is what we've been doing it, but now that it's not first. Whatever. Why just say 4? Because let's have it.
I don't care.
The 14th would be better for me than the 12th.
Cassie, can you do the 14th at 4?
I sent an email out. The 14th, I tentatively have a meeting that evening. However, I believe it'll probably get canceled. So I just made the comment that the 12th works better for me. But I'll definitely come on the 14th if
Okay.
Well, we could also, well,
meeting is.
we could alter the time. It doesn't
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think
matter.
of what I think Wednesday we have a 4 o'clock already. I just think it's-
Yeah, because my meeting is at 6 on Tuesday.
And my meeting on that Thursday is I would need to leave Saratoga by about 4:45.
Okay, let's look at this. It just needs to be before the board meeting.
So like Tuesday would work if we did it earlier for Joe, like at 3 or something? We'd rather not do that.
It's, I
Rather
don't, I don't think it's gonna take real long.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm free Monday.
I mean, 4 o'clock is fine as long as we're done running.
on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
we
it
should
won't
be,
take that
yeah.
long.
So the 12th at 4 would work then.
Yeah, I can make that work.
Okay, does that work, Jim? Does that work for you, Karen?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
no cows be calving right then, don't worry.
I'm dragging hay meadows, so
Awesome.
matter.
Okay, so, well, I'll send out a Zoom, either tonight or first thing in the morning.
On Zoom? Why don't you just send it?
Invite.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to?
I'm just- yeah, that's right. I was thinking email. I see what you're saying now. Gotta catch up on the lingo.
Okay, well, really, there's just two things, and, I don't know why I'm yelling.
Fun.
I feel like I've got a dog in a mic or something. So Sally sent this information, and I had forwarded on out her latest figures on the bonuses that had been mentioned or talked about. You know, this came up when we were trying to figure out a recruiting tool and some incentive, and then we were gonna try to catch everybody up, so it wasn't people that just missed it or had not been, you know, heard
Right.
that, so we just made it basically district-wide. But in the future, then it would drop back down to those meeting continuing status would be the $1,500.
Right.
So that's kind of how that is. You see the figures for everybody on that. So Sally just walked out, but I'm pretty sure that what we're talking is for certified license, $1,500 plus $25 a year, just to add some longevity for those that have been in the district a while. For classified, it's $1,000 plus $25 a year, and that's prorated for the FTE. So if they're, you know, part-time or 80%, it's prorated out. And so you have all the information of who would fall there from our current employees, thanks to Sally getting all that done. And then the other part of it is in the format that we always, or at least we normally have looked at things, which basically just lists the steps of being allowed and the lane movement. And then it relists things like health insurance and all the things that we normally have. Note that Sally did add in their bonus language, and it's highlighted in yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the document that we actually make public and talk about at the meeting with the campus reps is this document, not the money number
Per person.
That's just for this committee.
So
confidential information.
Is that what we want to call it? Just bonus?
Yeah, I took out the longevity piece of it because that was kind of questioned, so, but
Right.
we can call it whatever you want.
I don't know. I'm just, basically I'm asking for feedback there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
anybody.
If you want to
Just
call,
bonus,
you want
whatever.
to call it a longevity bonus or
Or
continuing
incentive,
or
you
incentive,
call it an
or
incentive.
I just put bonus on that, on my final draft.
Yeah.
I just called it.
It could be one incentive or
I don't-
a bonus, I don't know.
Cassie was saying something.
Cassie?
Sorry, I just said appreciation bonus. I think that was something that was thrown out previously.
That sounds good. I like that better than just bonus.
Okay, appreciation bonus?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll change that wording.
This initial discussion, of course, took place before any of the COVID closures and all of the economic business. I've had some discussion with different ones, and I've had quite a lot of discussion with Sally on, can we really afford this? Is this what we should do? The total cost would be, where is it?
205,000.
205,753 or thereabouts. And, you know, you could say, well, you know, in my mind, first I had to kind of talk my way through it and then talk to Sally a little bit. Basically, that's probably 3 teachers. You could talk salary bonus. However, this is a weird year because our cash carryover is going to be more, weirdly enough, than it normally is because we haven't had transportation costs and some other utilities have gone way down. And plus just, you know, Sally's good budgeting and prudent spending, you know, we have had a stable cash carryover for some years now, which we want to have.
Mhm.
There is some talk in a special session, just FYI, that they might raise the cap on it carry forward for this year, realizing all that. Because another thing we're going to get is some CARES Act money. And from what I've gathered so far, this district will get about $135,000 or thereabouts to spend on COVID expenditures. So that can be technology increases, that can be adding devices if we want to go more one-to-one devices in the future, anything to prepare for COVID type stuff in the future or any expenses we've had thus far. So there's that. The only caveat with that is you can't use that to displace bonuses. I don't think that's what we're doing because we started this whole conversation before any of this ever happened. So Sally says we can certainly keep that separate and it won't even connect in any way because we had that conversation. So I have talked quite a bit about Sally in the superintendent meetings. Basically, there's a split. Some people who think they should spend down some of their cash carryover, and some districts are increasing their base. One district's like $600 on the base. Most everybody's allowing steps and lanes. And then there's some that say, oh, we got to save every money, and because of this, we don't know the effect. I mean, I don't think any of us needs to expect that we will have funding to the same level we've had it in the coming years. I don't think that's reasonable. I don't know that it's going to crash off the edge all of a sudden. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that when coal and oil and tourism, the three biggest revenue producers in Wyoming, have basically cratered all at the same time, then somewhere down the line, some things are going to have to change somewhere. Again, that's what cash carryover is for. We have a rainy day balance that's pretty healthy for a state and expenditures. So just giving you all of the various thoughts that have gone through my mind about the whole thing. I still think, after talking with Sally, that I think it's probably a good idea, and especially as someone's mentioned in the past when we've met, all of the extra work and stress and all of this is basically put on our staff. I think it's a good time to justify that. So just some ramblings.
And I did look at the cash balance today as of the end of April, and we are $1 million ahead in our cash balance from where we were.
Yeah,
this
we're
time
in
last
very
year.
good shape.
Yeah, and we've added a lot to depreciation reserve and
Mhm.
different things in the past, and so yeah, I think the point. I think we're in a better position to make a bonus than base increases.
Oh, yeah.
Because if people are doing that now, that seems kind of crazy to me. But because it's
That's-
very uncertain
For the
future. But at the same time, what it takes is economic activity, and people have to have money to do that. So and the other thing is, we've already kind of laid it out there that this might be coming, and so if nothing comes, it's not going to go over very well.
Yeah, we hinted at it.
Hinted at it and said we're going to work on something when we talked about the something for the signing bonus for new teachers.
Well, and I'll be honest, I mean, I've been very appreciative of our staff anyway, even though I probably don't say it as much as I should, but I've been especially pleased with how everybody's stepped up in this whole weird situation. Cafeteria folks that worked and with lunches when they, probably didn't have to, but they've stepped up and, you can't guarantee everybody's working around the clock when they're at home, but I know of so many of our staff that I just have faith, and I really appreciate everything that they've done. And I do think it's a good time to really lift their spirits a little bit in a hard time. So again, just talking my way through it.
Yeah. Well, and like the comment I made before at one of the other meetings, I feel like a lot of times we get to the end of the year and we buy textbooks, or we buy computers, or we buy some other stuff because we have the money in the budget.
Or added.
We buy things.
Yeah.
And instead of So what makes the district go round is people, not things.
Exactly.
We need things, but
Well, the greatest asset we have is those teachers.
Exactly.
For
All of
sure.
our staff.
A good teacher can make a bad curriculum work.
yeah. And of course, the classified staff, which that's one thing I really like about this is that everybody's important in the district, not just the teachers, but the bus drivers, the janitors, the cooks. And
Well, then
you
we
know.
built up things, I know like major maintenance, you can't spend on anything, it has to be major maintenance, but that's healthy, that should take care of needs.
We have that
We
depreciation.
built up depreciation reserve, in fact, we probably put this amount in depreciation reserve in the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have
every
more.
year.
Well, You can plan on a budget amendment hearing in June. I think you can just plan on having the budget amendment because of our revenue being high and that I've already moved some money into depreciation reserve to take care of some servers and stuff that we're ordering right now. And, you
And we
know,
already had money in there. so
yeah, and instead of drawing down what we had, I'm just
leave
doing
it.
the transfer early.
So like you say, I mean, really, people is what makes the district, and, you know, it's a little hard to justify just continue to add money into like depreciation reserve instead of appreciating people occasionally too.
Right.
So, I mean, I think there's something to be said for that. So I mean, basically what I'm saying, I think it's a good idea. This meeting just needs basically to approve, to take this to the full campus reps and all, and hear any input from them, so.
Do we need a motion for this?
Probably, it'd probably get this motion, so, for the record.
Okay, I move that we approve the salary recommendations and the summary of recommended salary adjustments for the 2021 school year as proposed.
Second.
Thanks, Cassie. It's been moved and seconded to approve those recommendations and share it with the campus reps. All in favor, say aye. I will say aye. Joe said aye.
Aye.
Okay. It passes. Okay, and we will try to meet with them May 12th at 4 o'clock, which is at 4 o'clock. So look forward to a Zoom invite on that. Anything else, Jim?
Nope.
Thanks for your time. See ya. Good luck, Dragon Meadows, Karen.
Hi, guys.
Get it done. Mine are flooding. You got to turn the water on. Flood the grass off.
I already have the water on. It makes it much more fun not to get stuck.
Ooh. Okay. Sounds good. See you guys. Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Hi.
Leave meeting. Leave the building.
There's the final draft I just emailed to all of you all.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we, Sally, do you remember in the past, did we make this final draft out to the principals and the reps before the meeting, or do we wait and share it?
I think before the meeting.
Yeah, then they can ask questions about it.
Yeah, okay. I'll get all that done.
Thanks for all your work on that, Sally. Finagling it. I
Did a lot of figuring.
think it's a good product in the end. So.
I agree.
Sally, this is Tyler sent me a private message and he said, we will get a check in the mail tomorrow, assuming that the lease will continue. Thank you.
They made all their appointments.
Yeah, they
The
really.
last one they made was April.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's not.
That's real. There's